Hello, English learners. Welcome to another episode of Your English Always Better. Hi, Jennifer. How are you?
Hi, Charlie. I'm great. And you?
I'm good, thank you. Jennifer, in today's podcast, we're going to dive deep into the world of English verbs. This is a crucial topic for those at the intermediate level who really want to make a leap in fluency. It's going to be amazing because, afterwards, we'll present a dialogue between friends Thomas and Lily using many verbs and tenses as they recount their experiences traveling through Italy. You'll learn about this fabulous country and also about verbs.
Exactly, Charlie. Verbs are the heart and soul of any sentence in English. They not only express actions but also states, occurrences, and can completely change the meaning of a sentence depending on how they're used.
Let's start by reviewing the three main categories of verbs: action verbs, linking verbs, and auxiliary verbs. Jennifer, could you give us some examples?
Sure, Charlie. Action verbs are the most common. For example, run, eat, write, play. A sentence would be, she runs every morning, or they are eating dinner. Linking verbs connect the subject to additional information. The most common are be, seem, become. For example, he is a doctor, or the weather seems nice today. Auxiliary verbs help form different tenses and structures. The main ones are do, have, and will. We use them in sentences like, do you like coffee? Or I have finished my homework.
Great examples, Jennifer. Now, let's talk about verb tenses. In English, we have 12 main verb tenses. This might seem daunting, but let's break it down into smaller parts.
Exactly, Charlie. We have present, past, and future, each with 4 forms: simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. Let's give some examples using the verb work. Present simple, I work every day. Present continuous, I am working right now. Present perfect, I have worked here for 5 years. Present perfect continuous, I have been working on this project all week.
And the same applies to the past and future. A common mistake I see among intermediate learners is confusing the present perfect with the simple past. For example, many say, I have gone to the store yesterday when they should say, I went to the store yesterday.
Exactly, Charlie. The present perfect is used for actions that started in the past and continue into the present or have relevance in the present. The simple past, on the other hand, is for actions that were completely finished in the past.
Another important point is irregular verbs. These do not follow the regular conjugation pattern, especially in the past and past participle. Some examples are go, went, gone. Be, was / were, been. Eat, ate, eaten. Take, took, taken. See, saw, seen.
It's crucial to practice these irregular verbs. One tip for learners is to create sentences using these verbs in different contexts and tenses. For example, I go to the gym every day. Present simple, I went to the movies last night. Simple past, I have gone to Paris twice. Present perfect.
Excellent tip, Jennifer. Speaking of tips, what do you think is the best way for learners to solidify their understanding of verbs?
Good question, Charlie. I recommend a few strategies. 1. Constant practice. Use verbs in different contexts daily. 2. Active reading. Pay attention to verbs and how they are used when reading in English. 3. Regular writing. Write short texts or a journal in English, focusing on the correct use of verbs. 4. Listening. Listen to podcasts, music, and watch movies in English, paying attention to the verbs. 5. Make lists. Create lists of irregular verbs and review them regularly. 6. Use apps. There are various apps that help practice verb conjugations.
Very good, Jennifer. Now let's talk about some of the most common mistakes people make when learning verbs in English. Let's start with the first mistake, which is confusing verb tenses.
That's right, Charlie. Often, students use verb tenses incorrectly, like using the present simple instead of the present continuous. The present simple is for habits or general truths, while the present continuous is for actions happening now. For example, I eat breakfast versus I am eating breakfast.
Great explanation, Jennifer. To avoid this mistake, it's important to practice identifying the context of the action and choosing the correct verb tense. Conjugation exercises can be very helpful in solidifying these concepts. Now, let's move on to the second mistake.
The second mistake is forgetting to conjugate verbs in the past, especially irregular ones. Many students keep the verb in its base form, like, I go to the store yesterday, instead of, I went to the store yesterday. This happens quite often, doesn't it, Charlie?
Yes, it's a common mistake. To avoid this, it's essential to study and memorize the list of irregular verbs. Reading texts in the past tense and practicing regular conjugation also help a lot. Shall we move on to the next mistake?
Of course. The third mistake is the incorrect use of auxiliary verbs. In English, questions and negatives in the present simple require auxiliaries like do and does. For example, do you like coffee? Or she doesn't play soccer.
Exactly. To avoid this mistake, practice forming questions and negative sentences. Transforming affirmative sentences into negative and interrogative ones is a great exercise. And now, let's talk about a mistake related to modals.
Many people confuse modal verbs like can and could without understanding their nuances. Can is used for ability, while could can indicate ability in the past or possibility. For example, I can swim versus I could swim when I was young.
A good tip to avoid this mistake is to study the specific uses of each modal and practice with sentences that illustrate their functions. Role plays can also help solidify these concepts. And finally, let's talk about the last mistake.
The fifth mistake is not using the infinitive after certain verbs. Some verbs require an infinitive with to after them, like want or need. For example, I want to go and not I want go.
To avoid this mistake, make lists of verbs that require the infinitive with to and practice forming sentences. Fill-in-the-blank exercises are great for reinforcing this rule.
I hope these tips help you avoid these common mistakes and improve your use of verbs in English.
Great advice, Jennifer. Now, how about we listen to a dialogue between Thomas and Lily using various verbs in a conversation about a trip they took to Italy, recalling the places they went, the tours they took, the challenges they faced, and the positive discoveries they made?
Lily, do you remember that incredible trip we took to Italy last year? It was an unforgettable experience. We visited so many fascinating places and had amazing moments. From the moment we arrived, everything felt like a dream. Do you remember the first day in Rome?
Oh, how could I forget? As soon as we landed, we took a taxi straight to our hotel. We stayed at the Hotel Quirinale, which was simply beautiful. After settling in, we decided to explore the city. We walked to the Colosseum and were amazed by the grandeur of the place. We took so many photos.
Yes. And after the Colosseum, we went to the Roman Forum. Walking through those ancient ruins was like stepping back in time. I kept imagining what life would have been like during the Roman Empire. And do you remember lunch at that charming restaurant near the Pantheon? We tried authentic Italian pasta for the first time.
Absolutely. That spaghetti alla carbonara was divine. After lunch, we decided to visit the Trevi Fountain. We tossed coins into the fountain and made wishes. They say it guarantees a return to Rome. And of course, we couldn't miss trying the gelato. I chose pistachio and you tried the stracciatella, right?
Exactly. And in the evening, we had dinner in Trastevere, a charming neighborhood with narrow streets and many restaurants. We ate a wonderful pizza and then strolled through the illuminated streets. The next day, we took a train to Florence. The trip was quick and comfortable.
Florence was amazing. As soon as we arrived, we went straight to the Uffizi Gallery. We were impressed by the artworks, especially those by Botticelli and Michelangelo. Then we climbed to the top of the Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore. The view of the city from up there was breathtaking.
No doubt. And we can't forget the Ponte Vecchio with its jewelry shops and the view of the Arno River. We strolled a lot there. Oh, and that dinner at a hidden trattoria? We had a mushroom risotto that was simply spectacular. It was a memorable night.
And the next day, we rented a car and drove to Tuscany. The landscapes were incredible, with vineyards and sunflower fields. We stopped at a winery for a wine tasting. We learned so much about wine production and tasted some of the best Chiantis from the region.
True. Then we drove to Siena, where we explored the Piazza del Campo and climbed the Torre del Mangia. The city was enchanting. That night, we stayed at an agriturismo, where we had dinner with a local family. The homemade food was delicious, and their hospitality was amazing.
Finally, we went to Venice. Oh, Venice! We arrived by train and took a vaporetto to our hotel. The city is magical with its canals and bridges. We took a gondola ride, and the gondolier told us fascinating stories about the city. It was so romantic.
Yes, and we visited St. Mark's Basilica and the Doge's Palace. Both were impressive. Do you remember how we got lost in the narrow streets? It was a bit scary at first, but we ended up discovering a charming square with a cozy cafe. It was one of the best cappuccinos I've ever had.
Oh, and we can't forget the mishaps. Like that time we almost missed the train to Milan because we mixed up the times. We ran so much through the station, but we managed to board in time. In Milan, we visited the Duomo and shopped at the Galleria Vittorio Emanuele too. What an experience!
Milan was amazing, but we also had that mix-up at the hotel, remember? The reservation had been made for the following month by mistake. Fortunately, we found another hotel nearby, and everything worked out. And of course, I can't forget the dinner on the last day. We tried ossobuco and risotto alla Milanese. It was the perfect farewell to Italy.
True. Each city had its charm and surprises. Italy gave us so many wonderful memories. I can't wait to go back and explore even more. Maybe next time we can visit the Amalfi Coast or Sicily.
Definitely. I'm already looking forward to our next adventure. Traveling with you makes everything even more special. Until then, let's relive these incredible memories and plan our next destinations. Who knows what else we'll discover together?
Yes, traveling is one of the best things we can do. Each trip teaches us something new and brings us closer together. I'm ready for the next adventure, wherever it may be. Until then, we can dream and plan. Thank you for these wonderful memories, Thomas.
Thank you, Lily. Let's keep exploring the world together and creating more stories to tell. Until the next trip.
That's it, dear English learners. If this content was useful for you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Write in the comments about what kind of topics you want us to make videos on to help you learn English. Stay until the end of the video to see suggestions for other podcasts that will help you improve your English level. Thank you for being here. See you in the next videos.